I'm Mark with MS Auto Restorations, and today we're going to be showing you how to repair a dashboard. What I have here today is a dashboard out of a 1983 Fiat Spider. As you can see, it's got quite a few cracks in it. I think there's 9 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 areas that we'll be restoring today. And one of the things that we try to do when we restore these is we want to use the original parts to the car, as opposed to buying something aftermarket or the dash caps, which honestly don't look that good and they don't fit that well. So we're going to be using the original dashboard and then putting it back in the car, and just like I say, keeping the integrity of genuine original parts. So the first thing that we want to do, and some of these cracks are a little bit in different shape. Some of them are not too bad. However, some of them are very deep. And one of the issues when you have a cracked dashboard is that the plastic on there will really start curling up. And what we need to do is we need to get rid of that curling on there. So the best way to do that when it's really bad is just to really kind of cut the dashboard out. So I just got a razor knife. I'm not going to go real wide because then I have to use more product, but I'm just going to try to get some of this out of there. And it may take a couple swipes. And it's okay if you crack it. You know, you hear the cracking, that's okay. And don't worry about, you know, the foam underneath and damaging some of the foam, because the product that we're going to use, the adhesive bonding gel, is going to fill up this crack and take care of any of that stuff. But super important to get that curling out of there, because if you don't, you're just going to keep seeing it over and over again and you're never going to be able to get rid of it. And really, sanding doesn't do a good job either. You want to just really just cut it out. And we'll continue doing this to all our cracked areas. Again, it's okay to cut into the foam. It's one of the things that you want to do, and I'll show you here in a minute, is we're actually going to kind of V-cut the foam. And what I mean by V-cut is we're actually going to cut a V into the foam because the bonding adhesive really needs something to grab onto. So we need to make sure that there's a little bit of a valley in there, or a V, so that the product can flow down in there and it has something to grab onto. This one here I think I can sand down. It's not too bad. If you can feel the ridge, you need to get rid of the ridge. And we are going to be sanding these down too, just to make sure, but get the bulk of them off of there. Okay, now that we got that done, we want to kind of go back and, like I said, kind of do the V groove, which I'm actually going to cut part of this foam out of there. So make sure you're using a really sharp knife, and we're just going to create a little bit of a valley, and that's just going to give the product a place to grab onto. Some of these actually did a pretty good job as I was scraping, so, and try not to go too deep because you do have a limited amount of product and you don't want to waste it, but you do need to have it flow down inside of there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to sand down all these areas and try to get them as smooth as possible. And one of the things that happens during sanding, and I've noticed this over the years, you know, your dashboard has an original texture to it, kind of like a pattern that was put in there, you know, from the manufacturing. And when you sand and age, it actually becomes very smooth, and it looks really bad when you're done painting it. And that's why we're going to use a product which we'll show you later that's going to kind of bring some of that texture back and mimicking the original texture that's on the dashboard. So let's start sanding. that we got it sanded, I'm just going to double check it and make sure that I don't have any valleys that or peaks that I need to knock down. It all feels pretty good. All right, then the next step is I'm going to clean it up because I just want to get rid of some of the dust residue so then I have a nice clean surface. I'm just going to use some brake cleaner because it's going to evaporate real quick and also not leave any greasy residue that might keep the product from sticking. So I give it a nice little quick wipe down. Now let's start applying some of the filler product. It's a 2-part epoxy. Comes with 2 mixing tips. And mixing tips actually mix the product for you as it goes through the tip. And it's always a good idea to squirt it on something just for the first little bit, just to make sure that it's nice and mixed. The very first part of it, it's not going to be really good to use. Okay, that's probably good enough. All right, now let's start applying this in the areas. And you don't have to be really neat about it. We want to put more than enough product in there. And we're going to smooth it out as we go. Not really super important to get it perfectly smooth, but the smoother you make it, the less sanding you have to do. And this product also will not shrink. So it's not gonna, you're not gonna have to go back and add more if you've put enough of the product on to begin with. You do have to act somewhat quick with this as well because it is an epoxy. So the second you put it in, or the second it mixes rather, it's already started curing. So you want to act kind of quick. And I'm going to go ahead and start smoothing some of these areas out as I go. And again, try not to take off all the product. Okay. I don't want to waste any, so I'm going to push it into that next spot. And we'll get the underside in a minute. We'll do that last, actually. Around the front here, we'll get that in a minute. The more you put on, the more you got to take off. Yeah, let's get this big ugly one. And look at that, I didn't even need to fill that one. I had enough on the spatula. Okay, I'm just going to go back and check and make sure I've got enough product on because I don't want to do it again. All right, now let's get those ones underneath. I'm just going to come out to that side, I think. And we'll just get them from here. I think these edges sometimes they give you a little bit of a problem, so I'm going to put a little bit more product on there than I should, and then we'll just have to sand it off. All right, let's double check and make sure we don't have any areas that we missed. Product takes about 20 minutes to dry, about a half hour to pretty much completely cure. It's already started drying, so we're going to let it go. Double check. All right, let it dry. Okay, it's been about 20 or 30 minutes since we filled in our cracks. We want to allow this product to dry real well, dry to the touch. And then once you feel that it's dry, what I always do is I always go and I try a little area, which I tried here, and then I also tried over here. And I think we're ready to go ahead and start sanding. In your kit that you got from us, there are 4 pieces of sandpaper. There's 2 sheets of 60 grit, and there's 2 sheets of 120 grit. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with the 60 grit because we want to knock down the surface as much as we can, and then we'll finish up with the 120 grit just to give it a nice smooth finish. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'll do the rest of these spots, and some of them I got a little heavy on, which is not a problem. It's just going to take me a little bit longer to sand, unfortunately, but you know, it's not the end of the world. Okay, let's get started. Alright, now that I've got it pretty much sanded down smooth with using the 60 grit, I'm going to go ahead and bump it up to the 120 grit and really get a nice smooth surface out of it. Alright, now that I'm done sanding and everything is very smooth, I'm going to go ahead and just wipe it down. Again, I'm using like a brake cleaner, and all that's really doing is, you know, I don't want to leave any residue for the paint. I don't want to leave a film. And it does a really good job of just cleaning and prepping the surface. No oils or grease. That's going to prevent the paint from sticking. And then I can also kind of look and see how good of a job that we've done. All right, that looks good. I'm just going to give it a second or two to evaporate. And just double check my areas, make sure I don't need to do anything else. Wow, it looks really good. I'm very pleased. Okay, now that I've got the area real cleaned off and dust free and grease free, I also cleaned my board off to get all the dust scrapings, the sanding dust off of there, because I don't want that to get into the paint. And what we're going to use is, this is another product that we came up with. It's a textured sealer spray. When you go to put this on, I want to caution you at first, because you're going to think, oh my goodness, because it's very bumpy. The bumps are going to dissipate and they're going to flow out as the paint dries. And what it's going to really do, it's going to mimic that original pattern that was inside of your dash, and that's why we use it, and that's why we include it in the kit. The only color that it comes in is black. So when you're done painting and it's dry, if you want your dashboard to be another color, you can choose any color that you want. SEM makes a product line, a paint line that matches in cars, interiors of cars. So if you want to go ahead and order something like that, we recommend you do that as well. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll give this a good coat. You may put 2-3 coats on depending on the finish that you want. Let's just start with one. Make sure the can is very well shaken. And we want to paint just like we would spray paint anything else. You want to do a little bit at first, and you want to build your coat up. Okay, here we go. Again, you don't have to do it in one coat. You want to do it in multiple coats. This product takes approximately 10 minutes to dry. And we want to cover the whole entire dash because we want to give the whole dash that new texture look. So that way it's nice and even. Just that easy. Let's give it about 10 minutes. We'll come back and we'll give it another coat. Okay, we're all done with the dash. It's completely done. Before we take a look at it, there's something that I did forget to mention. When we were putting the filler on there, we're using the spreader. Don't try to clean your spreader with the product being wet. Let the product go ahead and cure on the spreader, and then when it does, it comes right off. And now you got a perfectly clean spreader. Just a little tip that might help you out. I think it looks very good. I'm very pleased with it. The texture of it turned out really, really nice. I'm very proud of it. As a matter of fact, Russ, why don't you come on over here and show everybody this. All right, like I said before, this textured spray that we use, the textured sealer spray, it mimics the original texture of the dash. And especially when you look down here, look at how nice that looks, and then it flows all the way up into here. It just gives us a really, really nice finish that looks like the actual dash. Unlike using Bondo or any of the other products that are out there, when you're done sanding and painting, you have a very smooth surface. And to be quite honest with you, it looks really bad. So with this process that we developed and the products that we use, you get this really nice finish. I'm sure you could appreciate that. And it looks great. She's ready to go back in the car. This process here, you know, it's very inexpensive. It's very quick and very easy, as you can see through the video. And the finished product, it looks brand new. And I think it's a very affordable and easy process. Okay, this process not only works on dashboards, but also door panels, armrests, center consoles, and basically any plastic surface in the interior of your vehicle.